She very smartly sort of sends clips to people and is like, I think I'm being kidnapped.
What is the guy saying in the front seat in a foreign language? Well, this kidnapping is going so well.
I'm Rebecca Lavoie, and this is Crime Writers On, the original true crime review podcast that digs into true crime, pop culture, TV, other podcasts. And this week, it was a scam that tricked film crew members to fly halfway around the world for a fake movie. But what was this con job really about? We'll talk about the new podcast, Chameleon, the Hollywood con queen. Joining me to get that done is my real-life husband and true crime co-author, former TV journalist, and the man who can watch me reading the script right now, Kevin Flynn. Hello, Kevin.
Hello, Rebecca.
Kevin, your hair has gotten extremely curly.
It's crazy,
And
right?
since this is video, I mean, can you just like turn around a little bit so that America can see? You look like your mom who got a perm in the back. It's like crazy. Also with us is journalist, true crime author, licensed private investigator, certified cat lady, and the one most likely to get enraged by all kinds of injustice, Laura Bricker. Hello, Laura.
Hello, Rebecca. And I would like to add, my hair is for the first time in pandemic life long enough to go completely back in a ponytail. I'll show the people at home.
Congratulations.
It's very
Congratulations.
exciting. Hey, it's the little things, Rebecca.
It is the little things these days, isn't it? Get your joy where you can.
Yeah.
Like I'm addicted to that Property Brothers iPhone game right now. It's the little things. It's the little things. Also with us, the author behind the noir novels known as the City Trilogy, host of the Strange Arrivals podcast, and our favorite naysayer, Toby Ball. Hello, Toby.
Hey, Rebecca.
Listen, I just want to tell people watching this video something real quick. Do you mind,
All right.
Kevin?
Go. I can't stop you now.
Okay.
Train's left the station.
All right. This is a shameless promotion. In the second half of the podcast, which is not part of this video, we are going to be talking about the blockbuster Netflix true crime documentary, American Murder, The Family Next Door, about the Shanann Watts case. It's going to be a super interesting conversation. If you're interested in hearing us talk about the case and that documentary, subscribe to our podcast or listen to our podcast, Crime Writers On. You'll get the full episode, including the review we're about to do and that review, and I think it's going to be worth it. Something tells me that there's going to be some disagreement on this panel about that show. So anyway, was that okay that I did that, Kevin?
Like I said, I can't stop you.
All right, let's start our first review, shall we? It seemed like a big break for behind-the-scenes crew members, a high-paying job on a major movie shot in Indonesia. But when they front their own expenses and fly halfway around the world, the producer is nowhere to be found.
Eddie was sucked into a story he simply couldn't have imagined. One that spans the globe, from Hong Kong to the UK. It involves nefarious bagmen, private investigators, phone sex, the FBI, and one of the longest, strangest cons in history.
In the new podcast, Chameleon, Hollywood Con Queen, host Josh Dean from The Clearing explores a long-running scam that targets those hoping to advance in the entertainment industry. What is this complex scheme really about? Is it just a prank, or is it something more sinister? And can Josh and his team track down the mastermind behind the con? I'm just going to summarize the story real quick. I think that's fair to do. So the characters in this podcast, we've listened to the first few episodes. They are sort of behind the scenes Hollywood workers, gig economy people. One of them is a trainer who aspires to train people who are working on action films. One of them is a makeup artist, etc. They're working with a woman who says she's with a big budget movie. And in one case, it's a Chinese Hong Kong action film. It seems legit. We actually see that they looked up the movie on IMDb and see it's in production and attached to huge stars. So the scam seems to be that these folks then use their own money to fly to Indonesia. They get driven around in a taxi to location scout, even though location scouting isn't part of their job. They never actually get to meet any of the film crew or producers that they've been ostensibly talking with, or the lawyers or anything. And, you know, they usually, with what people we meet anyway, they kind of freak out and they leave. And then the producer calls them and yells at them for leaving. And that seems to be the whole scam. It's very, very confounding. Laura, when this podcast started, we first get the story of Eddie, the personal trainer who's drawn into this scam.
Yeah.
But it's a long, like kind of a long roundabout way to getting into this story. What did you think of Eddie and his story and the way this story kind of opens?
You know, It was unfortunate that there was so much backstory. Like they buried the lead because if, I didn't need to go to Eddie's house and hear about Eddie's injuries and and go to the movie studio and hear how they found the story and who contacted them. Like it just bogged down the start of this story. So by the time we got to this totally bonkers thing where Eddie's going off to Indonesia, I'm like, oh my God, this is crazy. This is a crazy story. Why are we 20 minutes into this episode before I'm hearing this story? I feel like the setup was just a little bit too drawn out. And this is the type of story that was just so bananas that I wish there was a little setup and then they just got right into it because these details were just so compelling to listen to. Like once we got into what was happening with, and then they went there and they had to front their own money and they're like going around with these drivers that don't speak English and won't tell them where they're going and they're not really meeting anybody. I'm like, what are they going to be drug mules? Are they going to be killed? Like what's happening here? So I just felt like structurally it could have been tightened up in the beginning.
No, I agree. I actually also would have flipped it because I think Heather's story, the makeup artist story, is way more compelling than Eddie's.
Yeah.
Here she was a woman alone in Jakarta, driving around with this strange guy who didn't speak English. And, poor woman, all she wanted was a beer. And it just was really hard to get one. But she actually had tape. Yeah, she actually had tape. She had tape from her trip. She had tape of her conversations with this fake producer. I kind of felt if it were me, I would have flipped. I probably would have smashed the first 2 episodes into one episode, and I would have opened with Heather because her story to me was like terrifying in a way that Eddie's wasn't. What do you think, Toby?
I don't agree with you on that. I think they sequenced it right. I thought if they'd started with Heather, then Eddie's story would have seemed kind of like a letdown. But I found that Eddie's was strong enough, and then you get to Heather's and it's just like an escalation of it. I thought that worked pretty well.
I also agree with that, just for that reason too, because for Eddie, he just ended up leaving. Right.
Well,
he doesn't escape. He doesn't call the council. Yeah, they all lost money.
Yeah.
But also Eddie is our entree to the whole story, right? Because Eddie's the connection to the Hollywood producers, the connection to the host. So if you heard about him second.
Right.
And I thought about this too, like these are two similar stories. There's probably a way to put them, and those 2 episodes are one big episode, but you might have to cut so much out to make it fit. I don't know. It could have probably been done that way because I think things really pick up in the 3rd episode.
Didn't you think, though, that a lot of the scenes and dialogue in the episodes could have been cut? I mean, it did feel like they left everything.
Yeah.
I mean, it did. I mean, I will tell you, I love Josh Dean's work and I love his writing and I'm a big fan of his, but I felt like it could have benefited from a tighter edit, and it felt very much like their producer friend, who we hear in the credits is a contributing producer to the show, the Hollywood guy. Is it Andy, who is friends with Eddie?
Yeah.
It sounds like it was important to leave him in the show, and that, maybe they didn't want to cut that because of how they got the story, but it just felt long to me. That's sort of my one issue with the first 2 episodes.
If my butt sat in the same seat as what's her name? Margot Robbie?
Margot Robbie?
Margot Robbie, I would put that in my podcast too.
Good point.
I'm not proud. I'm just saying.
Good point. Okay, forget everything I said. You're absolutely right, guys. You're absolutely right. So, Toby, what's the deal with all the scam podcasts that we're getting right now? Is scam the new murder when it comes to true crime podcasts?
I don't know. It's an interesting question. I guess the 2 sort of responses I would have to that, and I don't know when this all started, when they started, doing the recording for this or the research or whatever. But I feel like these scam ones are a little bit lighter than the murder ones. And I think that's one of the things I liked about this one, especially when you contrast it with the second thing we're talking about, or the thing that we're talking about on the podcast. So it's just not having something that's so soul drainingly depressing at times. Yeah, I don't know. It's a good question. And I don't know if maybe people have been looking to say, okay, it's been so murder dominated. in the true crime podcast space. Where else can we go? And, you know, I mean, people like con man stories. You know, there's so many movies about it. I think it's sort of a natural for the genre. So maybe the question is, why did it take so long for there to be a bunch?
Well, we know Laura loves a good con man story, right, Laura?
I do love a good con man story. And I also love like a good double life story when you have a con man, somebody that's like, you know, by day, never would expect that they were actually running like, you know, some racket in their back room that nobody knew about or whatever.
Or a llama farm.
Or a private investigation firm in her New Jersey office from home.
Yeah.
Laura, that private investigator, Nikki, like, she reminded me a little bit of Laura Bricker.
Bathing her kids and taking phone calls.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really interesting. But the thing that I thought was so weird, I'm like, are there no private investigators out in California where this is happening? Like, why are they calling this PI in New Jersey? I thought that was kind of strange.
Well, she does corporate work, and she got hooked up by a lawyer who had hooked her up with other clients. You know? She's good. Must be good at what she does.
Good at what she does. So I'm eager to hear more from her as we go forward about, you know, more information about what she found out. Because that's the thing is, like, when you're listening to this podcast, I mean, the thing that's always sort of in my mind is, are they going to be able to deliver and explaining to us, like, what the heck is going on here? Because, like, nobody seems to really be profiting from this scam. So that's, you know, I really need to know, you know, are we actually going to find out who's behind this and what is their motivation besides just the power of, you know, controlling people and getting them to fly halfway around the world for no apparent reason, you know?
Yeah, I want to know if they solve it too.
Yeah.
Well, Laura brings up a really good point that a lot of these scam podcasts, and this is like our third in the past 2 months. It's usually about the who or the why or the how. This is the first one that I can remember that's about the what.
Yeah, like what the hell are they doing?
What is this? What's the angle?
Right.
And I mean, the what's going to lead to the how and the who and the why, right?
Yeah.
But I just, you know, that it's interesting that is sort of the upfront question. What the hell is this whole scam about?
Didn't it seem like
is it a prank?
Well, didn't it seem like the most likely explanation that we sort of got that it could have been? I mean, we don't know because we haven't listened to the whole podcast yet. Was the drug smuggling?
Yeah, that's what
I mean.
It
It
sounds
seems
like.
like they sort of have these like work-a-day gig workers who, by the way, all travel with equipment and cases probably.
Yeah.
A Hollywood production is probably a fantastic way to smuggle drugs because it involves like the transportation of giant like pelican cases with cameras and stuff, right?
Yeah, all that stuff gets weighed, though.
Yeah, no, I know, with the bills of lading.
Yeah,
we've seen
that's
that
right,
on
yeah.
many. Remember that Law and Order SVU we did where they had the cocaine and the costumes?
Yeah.
And
Well-
they used the bills of lading.
See, I hope this is what it is, but I feel like it's not. But I had this theory that actually the real con is going on against people we haven't met yet, and that they're getting all these Hollywood people, you know, quote unquote Hollywood people, to come over to make it look like they've got Hollywood people interested in something that's going on in Indonesia. And what she's actually doing is trying to pull something on some Indonesian people and be like,
Three-dimensional chess.
I'm bringing in all these people from Hollywood, and you know they're scouting locations, and they're, you know, doing this and they're doing that, and she has the actual
like in
people.
Argo.
And then they send them back, and it's just like, you know, yeah, I'm not paying you back $6,000.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
anyway, that's my theory.
Laura, what did you think of Heather's experience, especially being driven around in the car? You know, we hear the tape of the driver that she very smartly sort of sends clips to people and is like, I think I'm being kidnapped. Listen to this and translate it for me. Exactly, by the way, 100% what I would do in that situation.
What is the guy saying in the front seat in a foreign language? Well, this kidnapping is going so well. I hope she's not on to me.
Well, he was obviously, he was aware she was upset because he was communicating that to the fake producer lady. Because the fake producer lady heard from the driver that she was upset. But Laura, that was scary. I mean, I would be very, very scared in that situation. Would you not be scared?
Oh, yeah. And it's like one of the recurring dreams I have. I don't know if you guys have like those recurring dreams where you can't talk or something, but I'll have the one where like somebody has broken into my house and I'm trying to call 911 and I can't dial the phone. But like something similar to this actually happened to us once when we were on vacation. And it was pretty scary. And in hindsight, it was probably just a language barrier. or something, but we were taking an Uber and we got in the Uber and the guy immediately said, I know speak English. And then he canceled our ride, but we were already driving down the road with him. And I was like, oh my God. And we're trying to tell him where we're going. And he's like, I know speak English. And we're like, oh my God, we're going to be freaking killed. Like, he's canceled our ride with
What
Uber.
a great Leave It to Bricker episode that would have been.
Kevin, do you remember that time we got in an Uber and it just smelled like a giant fart? The guy had clearly like just been farting like all night in his car. And then we got in and we were just looking at each other the whole time like, what are we supposed to do?
Well, they do have a thing now about like, would you rate the smell of the vehicle? It's like,
I think it was because of our ride.
Well, there was no smell in this one, but I was relating a lot to her story because I remember like Ken and Will and I were in this Uber and we're like, and Ken is looking at me going like, don't do it. Like, he's like, shut up, don't instigate, don't do anything. And Will, my poor son, is like,
he was going to get you murdered.
He was. And we're like going the wrong way down the road. Will's on like Google Translate trying to be like, our hotel is this way. And finally at the end, what we found out is that it was actually a scam. So what they were doing was they would cancel the ride like you didn't take it. And then they would say, now you pay me in cash. So they were circumventing the rules. But at the time, like as I was listening to her story and I was like, oh my God, she's doing exactly what I would have done. We'd be like texting, we're in this car. This is where we are. This is what the guy looks like. This is his number on his like badge hanging up there, you know, all that kind of stuff. So good for her.
My daughter did that when she was 4.
Really?
Well, we were getting ready to leave for somewhere and she was in her car seat. We went back in to get stuff and she got my phone and then she recorded this message and she's like, you know, my parents have left me here. They say they're going to leave, but they haven't come back yet. So like she recorded this whole thing and put it back. And then like,
Sadie!
and then like days
so
later, I like find it. I'm like, what is this? You know, what is this thing taking up all this room on my phone? And I play it. And it's her little, you know.
ransom note.
Hey, Kevin, were you surprised, as I was, and horrified? It sounded like those consulate people in Indonesia knew a whole lot about what to do if you were the victim of some scammy operation.
I remember the guy phoned and said, listen, I can't necessarily say that anything bad's going to happen to you, but what I would like you to do is put your passport in your bra, pack your bags, and head straight for the airport.
The guy at the consulate is paid to deal with crises. If he was worried, this must be serious.
They had a lot of things to do at the ready. They were like, okay, do this. Like they deal with it all the time.
Well, they have a checklist.
Yeah.
I mean, that's their job, Rebecca.
Yeah.
They
They're
had
like
a
at an
car.
embassy, like, well, what can we do? Well, we can stamp passports. You know, we can approve visas, and we can help tourists.
We can secretly be in the CIA, and we can tell you to put your
Yeah, that's right.
passport in your bra, and don't tell the hotel manager what time you're leaving the hotel, and don't leave your bags unattended, just in case they put a secret compartment in there full of drugs.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
I don't know. I was like, they seem really at the ready. This must happen all the time.
Like, oh, it's a code 7. Code 7, everybody.
Toby, question for you. We hear kind of as episode 3 is wrapping up. And by the way, to me, another like slightly too long scene, that we've discovered that it's not a bunch of people sitting in a boiler room phone bank making all these phone calls and doing all these voices. It's actually just one person. And Josh and Vanessa and the PI, they all seem like kind of amazed that it's one person who's behind all this. What do you think about that, Toby?
That doesn't surprise me at all. My office manager at my last job could 100% have like done all the logistics for this. She could not have pulled off all the voices. It's like running an office where there's people going to here and there, and you've got travel arrangements, and you have to know where they are, and you have to get them stuff. And I mean, that's just like a job that a lot of people do. And this one turned to the dark side, I guess, but it doesn't. This comes up. It's like there's no way that one person could possibly do this themselves, and I'm like, I don't know. That doesn't really seem to me to be
like a talented admin. You think could absolutely pull it off?
Yeah, you know, with enough self motivation. self-directed
You can copy
work.
and paste a PDF, no problem.
No, but I mean, I do. I think it's, it's really a matter of organization. It's like, can you keep track of all this stuff?
Well, if a thing is worth doing, it's worth doing well.
It's worth hiring a kick-ass admin to do it. All right. Well, before we get to our thumbs up or thumbs down reviews, if you want to hear an expanded discussion plus our review of Netflix's real-time crime documentary, American Murder, The Family Next Door, listen to the Crime Writers On podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Please like and follow us right here on Facebook and Instagram. Tell us your review of Chameleon, the Hollywood con queen, in the comments. You can join our amazing community in our official Crime Writers On Facebook discussion group. And for exclusive podcasts and more, join us on Patreon at patreon.com/partnersincrimemedia. So with that, Laura Bricker, we're going to do what we do. Let's let our audience know, should they check out Chameleon, the Hollywood con queen, the new podcast from Josh Dean, formerly of The Clearing. Laura Bricker, what do you think? Thumbs up or thumbs down for Chameleon?
Yeah, I would say thumbs up. I mean, I do have, like I said, I felt like there was areas where there could have been tighter editing and that the high points of the story could have been told a little bit sooner. But overall, this story, this scam is so bizarre that it doesn't matter, because you want to keep listening to find out what the heck is going on here. Like, who is behind this and what is the end goal here? It's just so crazy. Like, I've never heard of anything like this. So just for that, I would listen to this. I mean, it's just bonkers. So that would be a thumbs up.
What do you think, Toby Ball? Thumbs up or thumbs down for Chameleon, Hollywood con queen?
Yeah, I like this a lot. I think it's entertaining. It's a little bit lighter than what we're used to. And I didn't have the problems with the pacing or the editing or lack of that I think some other people did. So I give it a hearty thumbs up. It's a little bit more of a storytelling thing, more than like actual. I guess it gets more into journalism maybe in the third, but it's a lot of like a story. But it's good. I really liked it.
Kevin Flynn.
I'm going to go thumbs up as well. I guess if 2016 was the year of the wrongful conviction, I guess 2020 is the year of the Con Man podcast. I think, first of all, they start off with a good case. So that means they're going to have a good podcast story. That's always seems to be like the thing that just sets these kinds of podcast hunt. Let's go and try to find something. Sets them on, dooms them from the start. But this is a good one. So it's a good story. It's not the usual financial scam. And, you don't have old ladies and llamas. And so, that makes it different. It's not flashy like The Sneak either. With jewel heists and things like that. There are a couple of unnecessary production embellishments that I think make it feel like maybe they don't feel it's strong enough to stand on its own. It is. It's an interesting story. And, Josh is promising a satisfying ending to this series, and whatever that means, unlike other podcasters, he knows what that means.
Yes.
So he should know what that looks like. So, thumbs crossed for an even bigger thumbs up. Thumbs crossed, fingers crossed for a thumbs up.
Yeah, I'm a thumbs up too. I like the podcast a lot. I'm going to keep listening to it. And I'm also just really excited about this new production company making podcasts. It's stacked with talented people that I like and admire. I actually am familiar with Vanessa's writing and Josh's reporting. And as I mentioned, The Clearing is one of my all-time favorite true crime podcasts. So I'm really excited about this. I agree with you, Kevin, that it does feel overproduced and under-edited. I do think that when you get a lot of talented audio people together on a project like this, sometimes they like to show off what they can do. And I don't think this story needs it. It's straighter. It doesn't so much need the sound design. But like I said, those are quibbles. I think this is a strong podcast. I'm looking forward to listening to the rest of it and seeing how they land the plane. I love the way that Josh landed the plane in The Clearing. I'm looking forward to seeing if he can land the plane in this one. So thumbs up for me. Now it's time for my favorite part of the podcast, a little something I like to call the crime
of the week.
Two former corrections officers in Oklahoma have been charged with cruelty toward 4 inmates. Prosecutors say the guards put the prisoners in a locked room and then played the children's song, Baby Shark on a loud loop for 2 hours.
God.
And we should mention the prisoners were also handcuffed against a wall. Completely not cool, obviously. The guards were fired for good reason. I think the handcuffing and the wall is enough. But let's talk about that song, Baby Shark, for 2 hours. The good news is they didn't make them do the Baby Shark dance. So, panel, my question for you about the crime of the week is, what song would you not want to be subjected to on an endless loop? Laura Bricker, what do you think?
I'm gonna go with this. I'm gonna go with the theme song from Caillou. I don't know if y'all remember.
Oh,
It's a good one.
Caillou. And he got that whiny little voice.
Oh, what a whiny. Don't you want to slap the out of that kid? That cartoon kid.
Why are we going to the park today? I'm like,
Because I'm going to leave you there.
Caillou.
Should we even, like the rest of us, even weigh in on this? Toby Ball, what song would you not want to have to listen to for 2 straight hours?
I had some other kid song, but I can't top that. So I'll just say that freaking unicorn song that they play at all the Irish pubs. And
Oh, they're a green alligator.
Yeah, exactly.
Long neck geese.
it used to be.
They do like the hand things just like the Baby Shark,
Yeah,
right?
I used to just.
just.
There were a couple of Irish bars we'd go to in D.C. back in the 90s, and I would just get despondent when they would start playing that song. I'm like,
You didn't like that one as much as and it's no, nay, never. No, nay, no.
That's not bringing back fond memories either, but it's better than the unicorn song.
There are plenty of other good Irish songs, but apparently those are the only 2 that are like on an endless loop in every pub in America. Kevin Flynn, what about you? What song could you not listen to for 2 hours?
Oh, man, I think sometimes when we touch, I think like just coming down around again and like, oh no.
You gotta get in touch with your feelings, man.
It's too much. The honesty is too much, Toby.
Apparently.
I gotta go with a song by an artist who I really respect as a songwriter and admire for lots of other reasons in the pantheon of American music. And Kevin, despite the fact that this was your favorite song with which to woo the ladies when you were in high school, I gotta go with Hello by Lionel Richie.
Oh my God.
I love Lionel Richie.
For 2 hours.
Oh, Lionel.
Kevin Flynn, do you want to just tell people how you used to woo the ladies with that song?
No.
He used to call the ladies, and they'd pick up the phone.
Oh,
and
I
then
think Facebook is saying wrap it up.
And he would just start playing the song and hold the phone next to the speaker of his record player. All right, that is going to do it for us.
How'd that work out?
Oh man.
Hello.
I got WAP before WAP was WAP.
My God.
No, you did not. That's
This
going to
is
do it
devolving.
for us. Remember to follow us right here on Facebook. We'll be back again next week with another crime or true crime review. On behalf of all the crime writers, thanks so much for watching. We will catch you later.